Hi once again, and welcome to today's edition. Today, we're going to be discussing the life of PTDF scholars in the UK. What do you expect when you come into the UK as a PTDF scholar? Before we go into that, I want to take this opportunity to say a very big congratulations to all the people who have been awarded the PTDF scholarship. And just like we mentioned in our previous video, the list is now publicly out, published on the PTDF website. Just as they've always done before, this time around, they've also made the list of awardees public. So if you've not seen the list, we'll be dropping a link to that list in the description of this video so that you can navigate to the website, look at the list, see the people who have been awarded the scholarship from your own state, from all the other states of the country, and know if your friend has been awarded. Now, the importance of looking at the list sometimes, even if you've not won the scholarship, is to look at the profile of the persons who have been awarded the scholarship in your own state. So you might just be surprised that you will discover what they had that you did not have, or what they have that you did not have. So in the process, you'll be also preparing yourself for a second time. Of course, you lose 100% of the shots that you did not take. You've taken a shot, and if you've missed it this time, I want to encourage you to try it a second time. I personally tried it 2 times, and on the second time, I was awarded the scholarship. And in fact, I did the same thing I'm encouraging you to do. Look through the profiles of the people who have been awarded the scholarship from your state. So let's just get started into what today's video is all about. Once again, thank you for always following the things we do. And congratulations if you've got the scholarship. So if you've not followed ASAT before, if you've not subscribed to our channel, we want to encourage you to do so. So let's get started. Now, you have got the PTDF scholarship and you are wondering what is the next thing for you. So we've given a description of the things that you would expect to do between the time you've got the scholarship and coming to the UK. But we want to concentrate today on life in the UK, and then the things you are going to be expecting in the UK as a PTDF scholar. We are going to be touching on a number of questions that's come up based on the video we did last time. So if you've not watched that video, a link to the video will be somewhere up in this, somewhere up on this video, and also in the description, so that you can see the things you are supposed to do, the things you are supposed to prepare for, in order to get your visa, to get your admission, and all of that. So, but today we want to make the assumption that you've got your admission already, and then you are now living in the UK. But before we get into life in the UK, we're going to talk about ATAS and also lay emphasis on the admission. So because a number of persons have reached out and tried to ask us questions about this ATAS, and a number of persons have also mentioned, issues with the admission. And you might well discover that most schools in the UK have closed admissions, or probably almost closing their portals for September admission for 2022. However, if you've got admission, for instance, and your school is requiring ATAS from you, particularly those of, we've got complaints or we've got questions from certain master's degree students whose schools are asking them for ATAS. Now, there is not much that you can do about it, because if the program requires that you have ATAS, then you must certainly have to get it. But to the best of my knowledge, most master's degree programs, especially thought masters, do not require ATAS for your unconditional offer. However, if your program requires that you submit or you get an ATAS certificate, then you must just apply for it. And the truth is, your school cannot fast track it, right? You cannot influence the speed or the pace at which is going to be processed. Your school cannot influence it because essentially it's processed by an external organ, is processed by an external body. So your school doesn't have any control over how fast it comes and all of that. However, if you've got the PTDF scholarship and you are intending to join the September set, September is just a matter of weeks from now, and some schools, like in my own school, I think some master's programs are resuming on the 19th of September. So what do we advise you to do if you're having this struggle with ATAS and having the struggle with admission? What you might do is send an email to your school and try to ask if you could be permitted to enroll online. The reason I mention this is because it's almost not possible to apply for ATAS today, get the ATAS certificate, go through the entire process of visa application in Nigeria, get your visa before September. It's almost not possible. And this is why. If you are applying for visa, for instance, to come into the UK, from the date you do your thumb printing, your biometrics, to the date you get the visa, you might have to wait for 15 working days. That's 3 weeks. There is an option for a fast track, but to the best of my knowledge, except something changes, PTDF will most likely not be paying for a fast track visa. So what I know that some people do is that because usually PTDF will use an agent for visa processing. So people sometimes get to discuss with the agent and go through the process by themselves. So they make the extra payments by themselves. So what they do is you go to the agent, you discuss with the agent, and then you make that extra payment that's required for the express entry. So for the express visa. So the amount PTDF is supposed to pay remains constant, but the balance to it is something that you can pay by yourself. But again, you will need to verify from your school that you will be able to enroll and resume your classes online so that you don't run into a situation of you want to resume, but you also haven't got your visa because your ATAS came out a little bit late. And because your ATAS came out a little bit late, you applied for the visa late, and then your mates have resumed in school and you are struggling to come to the UK. And then maybe somehow, somewhere you land in the UK, let's say like 2 months after your course has resumed and you've not been attending classes and all of that. So you need to just verify from your school, ask them in an email if whether or not you can resume online, and then while waiting for the completion of your visa application process and while waiting for your visa to come out, and allow you to enter the UK. That's the much I can say on ATAS and on admission. But if you haven't, the other alternative is if you've got admission into 2 schools and one is requiring ATAS and the other is not requiring ATAS, then you can just proceed with the school that's not requiring it, because that way things are faster for you. you are able to get started on your visa processing the moment PTDF has issued you the actual award letter, the actual award letter. You can just commence the process of getting your visa done. But if you've not got a second admission into a school that wouldn't require ATAS, then you might just, consider asking to join the course online prior to when your visa is ready, or consider postponing your resumption to January next year. So if you choose to resume January next year, you have some grace period to tidy up the things you need to tidy up in Nigeria, if there are any such things. And then you could just start planning to move in by December. So you work towards, traveling in December, and then by January, you're able to join your course. That's it for ATAS and admission. Then let's talk about the very important thing, one very important thing that you need to look at, so pay very big attention to when you're coming to the UK. In the UK, accommodation is, I think, the most expensive part of your living as a student. I don't think in my experience and in the experience of most friends, we've not seen any other part of your basic living in the UK that is as expensive as accommodation. Feeding is not anywhere close to the cost of accommodation in the UK. Transportation is not anywhere close to the cost of accommodation in the UK, except, of course, if you want to be doing taxi from, to and from everywhere you go to. But if you're going to be using the general public transport, it's not anywhere close to the cost of accommodation. So a lot of people would be tempted to jump into the school accommodation option. It's fine in a way, because the advantage is you wouldn't have to be thinking of paying your bills, because I think all of those are going to be captured in the amount that the school gives to you. But just before you rush into paying for a school accommodation, I also want to highlight that in my personal experience and from the comments of friends, I think school accommodation in the UK is generally more expensive than staying off campus. So in Nigeria, for instance, it's the opposite. Staying off campus is usually more expensive than staying inside school. But in the UK, it's the other way around. So if you are going to be staying in a school accommodation, you most likely will end up paying more money than you would spend if you live off campus. The question becomes, how do you get an off-campus accommodation while you're in Nigeria? So there are two options. Number one is you could identify someone who is in the city you are going to and plead with the person to help you source accommodation, right? But given that most people in the UK are either busy with school or busy with work, you might not very easily get someone to do this for you, except someone who is a friend, right? But there is a second option to it, which is you go through the real estate listing websites or the housing, how do I put the English now? So there are websites where you see agents and landlords listing their property, the availability, the cost, and all of that, all the condition of the house with pictures and sometimes videos. You could go through those websites, reach out to those landlords or those agencies, and once you've been able to establish a communication line with them, they will either make an arrangement for a virtual tour of the flats or the building as a whole, depending on what you want to rent, right? So if you have looked at, we're going to be dropping, I will send drop links to several of these websites and applications on the description of this video, right? Yeah, I'll put them in the description of this video so that you could look at them. So you select the city in which you are, try to think of the location of your school, the postal address, most likely, which you would very easily find on the website of your school, and use that postal address to try to look for houses that are within range. So if once you've gotten a house within that range, then you can discuss with the agent and see that you are able to secure the accommodation. So there are options for payment when you arrive. So the agent is going to make you sign some agreements. Maybe you might need to show some evidence that you have some fund in your account, and dependent. But just get discussing with the agent, ensure that you view it, ask all the questions you need to ask, and once you've reached an agreement, at least you would have secured an accommodation outside of school. And try to always stay somewhere that is not too far from your school, especially for the first few months of studies. Except it's a city you've lived in before and you've mastered the city, you know how the city looks like, you understand the public transportation systems and all that. Otherwise, it's always advisable to stay as close to your school as possible, at least for the first month or the first 2 months. The challenge, though, is most agencies are going to require you to a minimum length of stay from you. So some people are going to say that they want you to commit to staying, let's say, 3 months in the building before you pack out. Or some are going to say you commit to a minimum of 6 months, depending. But I would advise that you don't make a long-term commitment, except you are really getting a very good deal in terms of pricing and you are very pleased with the house, and maybe you've discussed with someone in the city and the person has also told you about part-time job opportunities around that area, because otherwise it will always be better to get into a short-term commitment, and then where possible or after your arrival, you consider if you might need to move out of the place to a better apartment, depending on what what opportunities you meet inside the city after you arrive. So the other thing you need to also note about accommodations in the UK is you can actually get open contracts. So, but this is going to come mostly from people who are direct landlords. So when I was coming, for instance, I got into the UK, a friend was helping me look for accommodation, but we couldn't get one until I came. So I had to spend like 3 days in a hotel. And after that, I was able to secure, I think on the second day, I was able to agree with a landlord just about 10 minutes walk from my school, Robert Gordon University. And once we reached that agreement, the agreement was open-ended. So I could leave the apartment even after 1 month. The condition, however, was and is always that you give a 1 month notice before you pack out in the UK. If you fail to give that 1 month notice, most times they are going to hold back the deposits you've made. And a deposit is an amount of money, most times the same as your 1 month rent, an equivalent of your 1 month rent that you pay to a landlord or pay to an agency. There is a structure around it. The money is supposed to be held in one account that doesn't belong to the agent or something like that. So when you are moving out of the house, you give a 1 month notice. After that 1 month period, you can pack out. The money remains with that organization until the landlord has viewed his house and ensured that you've not destroyed any property before you left. if you've destroyed any property before leaving, the landlord is going to charge back from your deposit the amount that is required to fix that damaged part. So in my case, for instance, when I came, I got an accommodation about, like I mentioned, 7 minutes walk from my school. And that accommodation was costing, I was paying £300 a month for the accommodation. And this was without bills. So if you included bills, I would pay like 330 something pounds in the first month. But after a while, there was this skyrocketing of energy costs in the UK, and my bill was shooting up to like £60 a month. So I knew I had to leave. And then some other things happened. I was now shuttling between two places. So the main university and one other research institute that belongs to, or my school has a partnership with, where my supervisor also works. So I had to like move away from a close proximity to the school towards the center of the city, and then to be able to shuttle to both places very easily. But if I hadn't got an open contract before moving into that place, I would be stuck in that kind of arrangement, paying £360 a month for a room in a shared flat, actually, not like an entire flat. That was just one room in a shared flat. We were two sharing the flat, even though they were like 3 rooms. So there was a big bedroom and a single bedroom. Well, let's not dwell so much on accommodation. The main point is you're going to be getting an accommodation. There are two options. You can look for one, source for one through a friend or through another person who lives in the city, or you can source for accommodation through the websites that will be in the comments, in the description of this video. If you have any additional questions, we'll be doing a separate video to discuss the details of accommodation in depth and make comparisons between cities so that you're able to make a choice. You should actually be considering cost of living in the cities you are going to, or in your choice of a city for your studies. The main point is, even if your school does not have accommodation for you, getting an off-campus accommodation is usually very easy, and not just very easy. In most cases, you'll be able to get a cheaper option of campus. So moving on, we look at setting up bank accounts. So if you're a PTDF scholar, one of the major things you realize is that you need to, one of the very first things you need to do in the UK after getting an accommodation is opening a bank account, because it's your UK bank account that PTDF is going to be using for your payments. So they're not going to pay you into a Nigerian account. They won't even make payments into a Nigerian domiciliary account. The payments they will have to make will be directly into a UK bank account. For the purpose of opening an account in the UK, most banks are, in fact, generally all the banks are going to require a proof of address from you. So this proof of address could be a utility bill from the house you've rented or a letter from your school, right? So when you come in, you go to your school for registration, all of that. You get the registration documents, you get yourself registered. They're going to give you like a request. You could request for the letter that you want to open a bank account. They'll give you an evidence of address. They're going to ask for the address of the building you are living in. And most banks would accept that for opening your account. So where they don't accept that, they're most likely going to require a utility bill, like your electricity bill, your gas bill. You can very easily get these from your landlord, or a tenancy agreement that you get from an agent should also be able to stand in for this. However, I will share my own experience of what I did and why I think you should do the same when you get to the UK. So you come into the UK, you're going to have, personally, I have like 3 accounts, right? I have two virtual bank accounts, and then I have one main bank account. So I have an account with the Bank of Scotland, and I have not had any issue with my payments by the PTDF. Secondly, the reason I have these multiple accounts is for this. I don't want to make all my daily transactions with my main bank account ATM, because when you get to the UK, most things in the UK, you could pay with an ATM in almost every place. In fact, I advise that as quickly as possible you get an ATM, because in my own city, in Aberdeen, for instance, the bus drivers wouldn't give you a balance or a change, whatever you choose to call it, when you make payment. So let's say a journey would cost you like £2, and maybe, or let's say a journey would cost you like £3 50, £3.50, for instance, and you have £5. So when you drop it through the payment system in the bus, it's not going to give you any refund. So you will be losing money if you walk that way. And I personally don't like carrying coins up and down the whole place. So I tend to make most of my payments with my ATM. However, I also don't want to use my Bank of Scotland ATM every time, everywhere, carry it about anywhere I'm going to, because just for safety reasons. So that's the main account I use. That's where PTDF pays me into, and that's the bank I would use for most kind of like, say, working somewhere and then the company wants to be paying money. That's the bank I would rather use for those kind of transactions. But for the purpose of my day-to-day living expenses, like I'm going to shop in the grocery, I'm going to pay for my transportation, I use Monzo. So Monzo is a virtual bank, and then I could transfer like a limited amount of funds from my Bank of Scotland account into the Monzo account. Maybe something I consider that it should be sufficient for the month, or something sufficient for the week, or something sufficient for 2 months, depending. So I make that transfer. That way, even if I get to lose the Monzo Bank ATM on a particular day, I wouldn't really bother much, because the amount of money that will be in it will not be such amounts that would put you under that kind of pressure. So that's why I think you should get one extra account, preferably virtual bank, in addition to your main account. The other thing is the requirements for opening a virtual bank account are also, they seem, more friendly, or they seem more easy to open and process. And within like 2 days, you should have your ATM dropped off in your house, for you, and then you can begin to make your transaction. So immediately you arrive in the UK, one of the first things you should do is to open a main account, with the physical bank that you're going to use for your PTDF, receiving your PTDF payments, and open, this is now my advice, a Monzo account or a Revolut account. I've also got a Revolut account, and there's a benefit to Revolut that I think, though I have not seen with Monzo. So with each of these apps, you can track how much you've spent. So you have an ATM and a bank app. You can track your expenses and all that and all that. But with Monzo, I have not seen. With Revolut, there is this option. They seem to have some partnerships with certain online companies. For instance, Amazon. You could navigate from your Revolut account to Amazon, and then they promise to give maybe like a cashback of a certain percentage of cashback. So what I do most often is that for my online shoppings, I tend to use Revolut more. Revolut also has a virtual card option. So I don't even have a physical ATM card for my Revolut account, but you could request for one. They will deliver it to your house. But if you decide not to request for one, you will get like a virtual card that you could be using to make all these online payments. So I think they also have a better service in terms of making international transactions. So if you choose to transfer money from, let's say, the UK to Nigeria, it's a lot easier, or it seems to be a lot easier on Revolut than it is on Monzo. I haven't tried making these transactions myself, but from the testimonials I've heard from people, a friend who has used Revolut seems to recommend it, for such kind of transactions. And he is also a Nigerian and one of the senior professionals that we have here in the UK. So that's what I would say for that. If you choose to open a Revolut account, Revolut, for all of us who use Revolut, there is an option for like inviting your friends to Revolut, and then Revolut gives some amount of cash reward. So I'm going to be putting my own link, or call it affiliate link to Revolut under the description of this video. But like I mentioned, it's not as if Monzo is not good. Monzo is good. It has its own. That's what I use for my day-to-day transactions, payments in shops, payments in the buses, and all of that kind of thing. But Revolut, I use more for my online purchases, which, depending on who you are, you might be making a lot of purchases online from Amazon. Sometimes I prefer to buy things online because it gives me the option of looking at all the market options and then placing my order. Sometimes I'm also able to benefit from the discounts. So that's basically what I use Revolut for. That could also be done, using Monzo, but I just think that the partnerships that Revolut I've seen on the Revolut app seem to be an advantage over Monzo. So apart from that, the other thing you see with Revolut is I think they are a little bit more advanced than Monzo, if I would say. So because on Revolut, people who have rights to buy and trade stocks and trade cryptocurrencies, they have an option to buy directly from Revolut. So even though Revolut is going to charge some commission on that. That's it for the banks. And additional questions you could drop in comments and we will be able to answer. So one other question someone has asked me concerning concerning accommodation in the UK is whether the PTDF is going to reserve accommodation for its students. PTDF doesn't do that. So what happens is they pay you your stipend, and from the stipend you are supposed to go get your accommodation yourself, sort out your living and all that, which is one reason I personally consider the cost of living in the city I'm going to. I considered the cost of living before coming to Aberdeen. Secondly, I also considered, Aberdeen is the oil and gas capital of Europe. I'm an oil and gas person. My bachelor's degree, my master's degree, even my PhD is somewhere in, oil and gas, plug and abandonment. So for me, Aberdeen was the best of choices. I had the option of going to Glasgow, which is a bigger city than Aberdeen. But for me, Aberdeen was good in terms of cost of living and then met the purpose of my course, right? Even though if you want to consider job opportunities, as we'll be looking at in the next session, Aberdeen is not I think currently people would say that Glasgow has more jobs, most cities in England has more jobs, and then Edinburgh has also more jobs and all of that. Now, the challenge with Aberdeen is there is a very high number of foreign students living here. So the part-time jobs are like you need to really sit up and keep applying multiple times before you're able to get a job in Aberdeen. But overall, it's a very nice city. It's very calm, very quiet. And, the public transportation system network is very great. You get to see your grocery shops almost at every corner there. If you like to eat out, there are multiple options for eating out as well. And all that, the cost of living is not too high. But generally in the UK, the cost of energy has gone up. But You can make your own decision, consider the city, consider the cost of living in the city, and the prospects for your course in the city you are going to, and then make your choice, right? So, the stipend and part-time job. So that's a very big question that almost everybody is interested in knowing, right? How much am I going to be getting in the UK if I come under the PTDF scholarship? If you are in the UK as a PTDF scholar under the master's degree program, you will be getting a total of £1,100 on a monthly basis, a month, paid on a 6 months basis, right? So PTDF prefers to pay students just 2 times in a year. But the good thing is they pay you in advance. They don't pay you in arrears. So for those of us who came in January this year and February this year, you would need some time to set up your account, and PTDF will need some time to do some processing between themselves and the Central Bank of Nigeria. That is going to take somewhere around 2 months before it's 2-3 months, some people 4 months, if there is a delay at the level of the central bank. I have had a case where somebody stayed up to 4 months. Yeah, no, I think 3 months. A guy who stays in London. I waited for about, I think, just one day before it became exactly 2 months before I got my own payment from the PTDF, which was like fast by standard. I don't know anybody who got his payment just within a month. I'm not sure. Most people were either close to 2 months or after 2 months and above. Within this period, you are expected to have some money with you that is going to take care of your stay. So your accommodation, like I mentioned, you might get a house that's like £250 for a room in a shared flat. You might get some that's like £225 for a room in a shared flat. You might get some that is 300 for a room in a shared flat. So a shared flat means that the flat could be 3-bedroom flats, right? Someone else is staying in the other room, the other person is staying in the other room, and you in the third room. But you are going to be sharing your kitchen, you'll be sharing your what's it called, your living room, you're going to be sharing your bathroom and toilet. Some places would have like maybe 2 toilets, and some others would have just a single toilet. So it would depend. If you are coming as a single person, and I personally wouldn't advise that you take a flat to yourself. Um, because especially in the first 2-3 months, or before PTDF makes payments to you, because otherwise you might be getting a 1-bedroom flat for somewhere like, say, £400 sometimes. Then the other option you could also consider is, if you know another colleague who is coming to the same city as yourself, you guys could then combine and apply to take a 2-bedroom flat. So that way you get things a little bit cheaper for yourself. So I know a friend who is staying in a 2-bedroom flat where he's paying like £500 without rent. So if you divide it 250, that's not bad for someone living in Aberdeen, very close to the city center. So, but stipend will come, and when it comes, PTDF is going to backdate to the month you came into the UK. So in my case, I came in February, then I was paid sometime in April. Yeah, I came first week of February, I was paid sometime in April. That period of payment, PTDF will calculate 6 months from February, or calculated 6 months from February, and then made that payment at once. Then just before the 6 months was to expire, that was in July, they made the next payment for the end, from August till the end of the year. So very much faithful to their payments. Sometimes they might have some delays due to the payment system, but as for making your payments, PTDF is one of the most faithful organizations for payments, excuse me, payment of stipend to their students. The school fees is processed between them and the school. You really don't have anything to do in that process. They know how to work it out with themselves. The school invoice PTDF directly, and PTDF will make a direct payment without consulting you. However, there are also times when there are delays in the system and or maybe payment system issues, and the school might send you an email. If you get such an email, you don't need to fret. What you just need to do is to send an email to PTDF, forwarding what the school has sent to you. PTDF generally wants the schools or requires that schools do not disturb PTDF scholars with such emails, but sometimes the schools have tried and they're not getting a direct response from PTDF, and then they get to involve the students. You don't need to fret about it. Just concentrate on your studies, send the emails you need to send, and keep working on the things you are working on. Part-time jobs, if you are studying in the UK, you have a maximum of 20 hours per week on a Tier 4 visa, which is what foreign students come into the UK with. So 20 hours a week, you'll be able to work part-time, taking a job maybe in your school library, in your school, any other department, taking a job maybe like in restaurants, taking a job in warehouses, in different places, in care homes, and all that and all that. Depending on the city, you might have one sector of the economy more developed than the others, and then that might be your major attraction. The challenge is you might not be able to get your kind of professional jobs that you had in Nigeria on part-time basis. Myself, I was working in the drilling industry, in the oil and gas sector, drilling particularly, but drilling and capacity building. But that's not something that I've been able to get into in the UK, because most of the companies would require your full-time commitment, which you are not able to give at the moment. And so you most likely will be considering other part-time jobs. So if you've got the opportunity to gain a little experience in any of these in Nigeria, maybe like serving in restaurants or maybe like care homes. And I don't know of any care home in Nigeria. Care homes are not very popular in Nigeria. But if you just whatever experience you can get, digital marketing, technical assistant, just anything that can be done part-time, that would be a very good skill or a very good experience to gain before coming over to the UK. Anything that's any skill that is marketable on a part-time basis, it will really do you a lot of good. Try to get some, right? Try to get some, a skill that can be marketed part-time on a part-time basis. It will do you a lot of good when you come to the UK. That's just that. And on part-time employments, you're not supposed to work more than 20 hours by law. Doing that can incur the wrath of the Home Office, which is responsible for your visa. So it's not something you want to do. And then I think the other part-time job that is very common here is working as stewards or working as a security personnel, like event centers or a doorkeeper in some kind of organizations. For this, you will need to do a certification program called SIA. I can't remember the full meaning of that stuff now, but the advice I want to give you on that is to try to get a police report from Nigeria. A police report is not required for your visa application to come into the UK. But if you come into the UK and you will need to do, or you choose to work as a security personnel, in that category, after your SIA, they are supposed to give you something like a badge, more or less a license. But to get that license, they're going to require that you bring a police report from the country you are coming from, or from any country you've lived in the past. I think you've spent, is it 6 months in the past 5 years, something like that. So you may consider getting your police report handy so that once you come into the UK, you can just take that training. It's usually a 1-week training, write the certification exam, and then submit your police report without, it cuts off the, running around to get a police report and all that and all that. It simplifies the process for you, and then you are able to start working. However, money is good, good life is good, but the most important thing about your coming to the UK is your studies. And that's why I have included this section on graduating well, right? You need to graduate very well. Yeah, you need to graduate very well. So for those of us doing PhDs, it will depend on your school. So some schools don't really require you to take any coursework. In my own school, we just sit in class for like 2 weeks for something that's most likely, I would rather call a seminar than a lecture. So a week after you arrive, they will organize one. Sometimes they do it as hybrid. In my own case, sometimes they do it fully virtual. Sometimes they do it in class. So within that period, they try to introduce you to research methods, to these resources you have within the school and all that and all that. But this is particular to Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen. After that, you make a presentation, and then after that, you go write redesign your research proposal, do your literature review, write a report on that, and submit. And then after a while, you take the second part of that training. In some other schools, a PhD, you just come in, is between you, your supervisor, your lab, and your computers. But as much as you want to go working, making money, you should also remember that what you came to the UK to do is to study. And whatever is going to affect your studies, I will advise, try to avoid such things, right? Because in the end, the degree is more important than the £10 an hour you're going to be making as extra cash. However, that doesn't say you shouldn't work. There is always a need for more money. And even the more money you have, the more need for more money that you're going to have. So you work, but remember that your studies is very important. For those who are coming for a master's, there is something you need to really pay attention to. For anybody to have gone through the PTDF process and been selected, I trust that you are a very sharp student, a very intelligent person and all that. But when you come into the UK, the academic system might be relatively different. I wouldn't say more difficult, but different. So you need to quickly understand the system to be able to excel in the system. You might need to ask questions. So you might also need to particularly understand if you are targeting a distinction, which is what I would encourage you to target, because a distinction, as much as people might tell you that your degree doesn't matter, I think you know better. If you didn't have a first class or a 2-1, getting the PTDF scholarship probably would have been very difficult. And if after your study in the UK under the PTDF, you don't graduate with a distinction, reapplying, you will be competing against some who have distinctions during your application for a PhD, if you choose to go that path. But apart from reapplying for scholarships, a distinction is something I personally would always want to have in whatever level of education I get myself into. But when you come into your school, this is my advice based on my interactions with a number of masters, based on my interactions with people about the master's program in the UK. My master's was done in Russia, so it's a different system. But in the UK, there is a minimum number of distinctions you need to have in your courses to qualify you for a distinction. So you need to figure out that number and begin to make effort towards that, right? The other thing that you need to also, this is now my personal advice. If you are doing a master's, the UK wouldn't require you, the university wouldn't require you to make a publication out of your master's thesis, right? But if you are someone who is considering furthering education into a PhD, I would encourage you to do the much you can to get at least one research paper out of your project work. The reason is I have studied scholarships to a good extent. I have friends who are on different categories of scholarships, and I don't like to put all my eggs in one basket, right? So if you do that, it opens the door for you to pursue graduate assistantship kind of scholarships in every other country of the world. That paper that you've published combined with a distinction from the UK is going to be a major boost to your further studies if you choose to further your studies, right? Apart from that, it might also help you if, for instance, you'll be looking for jobs in research institutions. That's like the research department of companies or any organization that is purely into research. I don't know if I've missed any other anything from this discussion, but if there is anything you feel like we need to lay more emphasis on or any other question you want us to clarify, please drop a question in the comments section of this video. Ask your questions, and as quickly as possible, I'll try to do my best to answer them. This video has been useful to you, or if you found value in it, please give it a thumbs up, and it will help us reach all the other people that we intend to reach. If you've also watched it till this period, I believe you have liked what you've seen. And if you like what you've seen, I request that you subscribe to the channel and then help me on the journey to 1,000 subscribers. That's a vision that's is in the chase before the end of this year. Again, ACE-Arts, so the YouTube channel you're watching is called ACE-Arts. ACE-Arts, it's a place where we try to encourage academic talents and guide academic talents into into success stories, into life success stories, I would say. We have a Facebook page as well, going by the same, bearing the same name, ACE-Arts. And then I think there are a couple of other pages on Facebook that answer ACE-Arts. But when you see the logo on the right down corner of this video, on the downside corner of the right hand side of this video, whatever way it said, yeah, the same logo is what we use on Facebook. And why you might need to like our Facebook page, it's majorly because of your friends now, because if you've got the PTDF scholarship, you will not be needing any other scholarship in the near future, in the next 12 months at least. But we share a lot of scholarship options or a lot of scholarship opportunities on our Facebook page. So YouTube, we try to do much of discussions. On Facebook, we publish a lot of scholarship opportunities. So those are things that you could share with your friends. We source them from different, from wherever we see them. We publish them there on Facebook for our people or those who are following us to be able to see them, apply. Sometimes we explain how these applications should be made. We share a lot of tips. We, discuss a lot of things on that Facebook page. So my request to you is subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the Facebook page. Our Facebook page is a very large community, actually, where we have people from several countries in Africa, from Madagascar, Liberia, Nigeria, Ghana, several countries in Africa. We're over 5,000 followers, close to 6,000 followers at the point of making this video. And people are, engaging with the opportunities that we have. And, a lot of these kind of things are going on there. You might want to see it, and you might want to share some of the opportunities with your friend. Once again, congratulations, you've made it. So your jackpot dream is now real. You're coming to the UK and we are waiting for you in the UK. So remember to subscribe, to give the video a thumbs up, and most importantly, to start preparing all the things you have as much as possible. Gain a skill that's going to be marketable part-time. And if you consider the security working option, try to get yourself the police report in Nigeria before you come. So, and also the Revolut or Monzo accounts, we will send you a description to their website, a link to their websites just in the description of this video. And remember that if you are going for accommodation, try to get someone who is in the city. If you can't get someone who is in the city, use one of the websites that we'll be listing in the description of this video to check out your accommodation. Accommodation is one of the most important things you need to get. It's a basic need of man, but it's also the most expensive part of your living in the UK on the average. And all the best. Congratulations once again. Welcome to the UK in advance. And the guys who are going to France and to Germany, I'll try to get a friend who studied in Germany, another who studied in France to provide additional information on how living is in those places. But this video is particularly for those coming to the UK, and all information that have been shared here are useful to those guys who are coming, or most useful to the guys who are coming to the UK. Best wishes and congratulations. If you didn't make it this time, best luck or better luck next time. Just as I mentioned earlier, look at the profile of the people who got it and see what they've got that you didn't have. All the best. Thank you. And once you come to the UK, drop me a note and let's have a chat. Goodbye and have a nice weekend. Thank you.